Welcome to the Successful Life Podcast. I am your host, Corey Barrier, and I am here with Sir Brad Lazar. And I got to ask you, Brad, first of all, I got to thank you so much for coming on. I'm super excited about this conversation. How about this first? You just want to introduce yourself before I start asking you a million questions about your jet, right? Because you know I'm going to bring that up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Brad Lazar, I guess for those of you that don't follow me or don't know me, I'm kind of known around the world as the $2 billion guy. And I guess it's because I've raised over $2 billion, largely through my efforts, but also with sales teams I put together while I've worked alongside some of the big real estate investment trusts or some of the big private equity firms out there. But Corey and I got together and just kind of resonated. And he said, man, I do this great podcast. Would love to have you on the Sales Syndicate program. And I said, man, that's right up my alley. I mean, I'm a syndicator. We raise money and I would love to add value to your community. So here we are.
Here we are, the $2 billion man. I don't think I've ever interviewed anybody that could say they were a $2 billion man. So that's pretty damn cool. So you left out the fact that you're also you're more than a three-time author? I know three because I got three of the books right here, right?
Yeah, no, look at that, man. I love it. Hold those books up again. Come on.
There we go. So you see, I've already worn this one out over here. It's all bent up.
Yeah, love it. No,
and then we got here. This is the new one though, right?
No, the other one, the Winning the Capital Game, is the new one. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So this is the new one. Tell us about this. What can we find in here? What can the audience find?
Yeah. So, my whole message really is largely as a coach. I always ask people like, man, what do you want to be doing with your life? And everybody has a desire to do more, right? They either want to start a business or they want to launch a company. And I'm like, well, great, Corey, man, that sounds fantastic. Like, how long have you had this goal or this dream? Oh, I don't know, 3 to 5 years. What, man? Like, you've wasted 3 to 5 years dreaming about this big thing you want to do. Like, what's holding you back? And like 99.9% of the time, it's not the fear. It's not the self-doubt. It's just that they don't have the money. And I'm like, don't you realize all the money you need to pretty much do anything in life you want is out there? It's called OPM, other people's money. And once you learn the secret of how to attract it and how to basically ask them to open up their checkbooks and write you a check, man, that dream or that goal you have now becomes a reality. So let me teach you how to do this because I've been doing it for 35 years. I've got demonstrated capacity where I've raised a buttload and more importantly, have taught others how to do this too. So I just love basically giving people this new superpower, teaching them how to get in front of people, create that pipeline of activity. And then more importantly, just teach them what to say, how to close and how to rinse and repeat so they can go from one investor to 3 to 10 and eventually just, build that investor network. That's so important when you're an entrepreneur or when you're a business owner.
I totally agree with that. I think that, in as cliche as it sounds, I don't really give a damn if it sounds cliche, but at the end of the day, if you hang out with winners, you're going to wind up being a winner. If you want to hang out with losers, you're going to wind up being a loser. So I want to give you a quick scenario. Let's just say somebody came to you and they said, look, Brad, I'm going to give you a real-time example that I just got.
Let's do it.
Within 7 days ago. He said, I need about $600,000. I've got a thriving business, making money. I can't remember how much he made last year. I think it was 250, 350, somewhere in that area. He had his whole business plan laid out. It makes complete sense, right? To me, what he's telling me, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. Then he said, but the bank wouldn't loan me the money. And I said, why not? Yeah. Is there something that you didn't tell me? He said, well, we got about a 680 credit score, each one of us. And he said, we need about a 700 to get that loan, and we don't really have any collateral. And so what would you say to a guy like that? Is there an option for a guy like that?
Oh, heck yeah. There's tons of options. I mean, I tell people, look, I was basically 21-year-old kid going to school when I learned how to get on the phone and start talking to investors. Now, granted, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have Zoom. I don't know whether people had any idea that I was a 21-year-old punk kid. But basically, after learning how to get on the phone, what to say, how to build trust, at the age of 23, I turned my back to school. I literally dropped out of college. I had never drilled an oil well. I never ran a multi-million-dollar business. All I knew how to do was raise money. And so I printed up some letterhead, threw together some business cards, put a shingle on the door that said, "Hey, I'm now the CEO of an oil company." And I was like, holy crap, people are actually sending me checks. I mean, so I tell people, how could a 23-year-old punk kid who's a college dropout that never drilled an oil well build a multi-million-dollar company with 35 employees with drilling projects in Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana? And while I was doing it, teach other people that joined my team to do it alongside me where they were making six figures. I'm like, if you've got anything in the way of a track record, where you can show a potential investor that you've got a team of other professionals around you that are going to help you get to become successful, then it's like lights out. What I've learned over 35 years is, you got to have a good deal. But at the end of the day, people aren't investing in the deal, man. They're investing in you. It's the confidence. It's how you present yourself. It's basically what you say. It's the quality of your materials, your pitch deck, your business card. Do you have a website? Yada da. But at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is building trust and building a relationship with another person. And the biggest rookie mistake I see people make all the time is they got a deal, they got to raise money. And so like on the first or second call with someone, man, they're already pitching. And I'm like, dude, you're pitching the deal before there's ever any trust established with this other person. Now they're going to be polite and they're probably going to ask you to send them the stuff. But when it comes time to open the checkbook, fat chance in hell that they're going to write you a check because you haven't invested time on the front end to get that trust meter up where it needs to be. And that's really all it boils down to.
Dude, that makes complete sense to me. But just what I realized when you were just saying that is that I wonder, think about the younger generation. Like they literally, people that are younger than you or me, the phone is foreign to them. It's just a device that they can text on. They don't understand. People, it's almost like they don't understand that the phone dials. And here's the crazy part, Brad. Like people answer the phone now because there's so many people don't call. It's a pretty good angle. It really is.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And this whole concept or this key principle that I've developed, we call it the trust sequence. It's basically 6 things or 6 steps that need to happen and kind of work one after the other. And that's how you build trust. But it's one of the key fundamental building blocks in our program. And I tell people, once you understand this, like the first thing is perception. When you meet somebody, man, in the first 30 seconds, they're sizing you up. How do you shake their hand? What does your business card look like? How do you dress? So the first thing is perception. And, I tell ladies, you ladies get this shit a lot better than us guys do, because the first time a guy picks you up on a date, you're asking yourself, is there ever going to be a second date with this dude, right? So, it's all about going to that next step. After that, the second step, we call that temptation. Your job in raising money is to ask questions. Corey, when you invest, are you looking for income or are you looking for growth? Maybe he's looking for both. How important are tax benefits to you? Are you looking to put this money to work to do something special with it, like put your kids through school or buy a second house like a vacation property? All those answers, man, they're going to give you the key to unlock the door so that you can now tailor your pitch right across home plate, because the guy basically told you exactly what he's looking for, what he likes to invest in. And then you get to the emotional connection after you tell the person, look, right now I don't have anything I can offer to you, yada da. You basically ask a very important phrase. We call it the validation phrase. And what this does is it literally tees you up for success, because the investor is going to say, yes, I trust you enough now to come back the next time and share with me an investment opportunity or something that you feel I can get excited about. And from there, man, boom, it's all downhill if you do it right. But you see, if you mess up on any of these first steps, you're going to stub your toe. Yeah, you might get lucky every now and then, but you're going to flounder and you're going to fail, where it could be so much easier if somebody that's done this for 35 years and raised a buttload of money like me sits down and says, here's the steps, here's the concepts, let's rehearse, let's role play. And then, man, you get on the phone or you get on a couple of Zooms and you're like, man, this actually works. You know, I'm getting checks in the mail, or I'm getting money wired to a bank account that I set up for my business. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course it works. And here's the funny thing. People don't realize this, but like the wealthiest people in the world, like Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, right? Their companies have all been built on other people's money. What do you think the stock market is, man? Elon Musk, who owns Tesla and SpaceX, he only owns 17% of Tesla. Who owns the other 83? Investors. So you see, once you learn this concept of using other people's money, which in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Kiyosaki says is like one of the key principles of building wealth, man, you can scale a business to literally tens of millions, I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars, just based on your own personal limitations and how grandiose or how big or how much time you got. And it's just a matter of, you know, picking up checks.
I mean, that makes complete sense. I do have a question though. Is there, and this is just a really personal question. Is there what's the time frame, or is there a time frame between the trust is built, right? We've gone through all the 4 steps. The trust is built, and you say to me, Corey, I'm ready. You know, when you get a good deal, when you get an investment that you think will work for me, let me know, right? So now I'm sales guy, so I'm hyped. I'm ready to throw an investment his way because I want him, right? I'm ready to do business. How long do you wait? Because obviously you don't call him the next day with an investment. Yeah. So how long do you wait?
Usually, you know, the time frame or the horizon between calls, usually about 7 to 10 days. And so in this, what I call coaching or mentorship, we use something called the 4-step blueprint. Think of the first 2 calls that you make to a potential investor as basically just building that trust, adding value, educating them. You're not pitching, you're not selling anything. You're just really getting to know them. You're allowing them to get to know you. But at the end of that second call, that's when we ask the validation phrase. And basically at the end of that second call, they're going to say, yeah, you know, if you have an opening on something at a later date, I'd love you to call me back and share it with me. About 7 to 10 days later, there's the third call. This is when you're calling the person back and say, you know, hey, I got a deal, or I got a great opportunity for you to invest alongside me. Then you send them everything that you need to send them, your pitch deck, the offering memorandum. And then usually, you know, 7 to 10 days later, you're calling back to answer any questions and basically close. So if you figure over the course of 4 calls, right, each one about 7 to 10 days apart, it's not like we're looking at 3 to 6 months to get your first investor. We're literally looking at, you know, anywhere from 4 to 5 weeks. And I tell people, once you have your collateral materials together that you need, and then you start putting that out in front of people, from 0 to 60, man, it's like 4 to 6 weeks for you to start getting those checks in the door. And then once you get 1, you rinse and repeat the process. Now you get 3, then you scale to 10. And before you know it, you've got this nice database of people that are your investor network. Now, when you need to raise money, it's real simple. You just blast out an email to your network. You say, hey, we got another deal. Some will, some won't. So what? But those that will, you follow up, because what you find is a lot of these investors have so much discretionary income or so much net worth that they'll test the waters with you on the first deal to get to know you. Here's $100,000. Okay. But then when you prove your self-worth and you prove that you're the real deal and you can deliver, the next check might be for 250, you know, maybe 500, because now there's that mutual trust. Now they realize I can open up the checkbook with Corey because he's proven his abilities. And now, by the way, let me introduce you to my buddies. I go golfing with Joe. Joe's richer than I am. So the propensity to raise money and scale simply accelerates over time, because now if you're good at seeking and asking for referrals, you'll get them. See, now it's not me telling you how great I am. It's Corey telling you how great I am. And that's a whole different conversation.
But that's a good one, boy. I'm glad you brought that up. Because look, I would much rather hear from you that I need to go work with Daniel than I would Daniel tell me I need to go work with Daniel.
You got it.
100%.
Yep.
It works like, yeah, it's great.
Yep.
It's kind of like if it's like, it's like a news article, right? If you have an article written about you, it's like it's kind of like a billboard or almost like advertisement, truthfully.
Yep.
So, and when you have somebody that's, I don't know if there's too many people that are worth anything in the news right now, but perceptionally, I would imagine, I don't know if that's a word, but some people believe the news still works, right? So if somebody on the news validates and you trust the people on the news, it's the same scenario, right?
Exactly.
It's marketing. It's why it's why influencers work, right? Exactly. That's exactly why they work.
Yeah, I mean, I have a term for it, and it's one of the reasons that I think we've been wildly successful, not just in building our brand globally, which is Capital School, where today, we got students literally around the world: Australia, New Zealand, England, Canada, here, Finland, Brazil, but also just in the raising of money. It's what I call becoming a person of interest. Once you understand how to leverage social media, get yourself out there with content on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, and then you get a couple of news articles, or maybe you are a contributing editor where you send something into a magazine and you say, hey, I can write about multifamily, or I can write about this. Man, that's all you need, because now when you go out to potential investors, you can say, hey, by the way, I don't know if you've seen this before, but here's an article that I published in XYZ magazine. Now your credibility score goes way through the roof. I mean, I never realized this when I set off on the journey to become an author, but writing books gives you so much credibility as an author. Once you say you're a published author, not just with one book, but now with 3, man, your credibility goes through the roof. People hire me and they pay me insane amounts of money to come in and speak in front of their corporations, or, train their leaders and managers. Why? Just because I got a book, dude. And so, when you think about raising money and being a syndicator, the more visibility you can get, whether it's in the press, whether it's being interviewed on a radio show or appearing on TV, it just makes it that much easier to ultimately get people to commit.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% it does. And I love that. But here's what's crazy. You built the authority, right? I mean, the books, you wrote the books, right? You wrote the books. Nobody else wrote them. So, that's pretty cool that you can produce something like this. And then what is it? Then it literally gives you so much authority in your space that nobody can touch you, right?
Exactly. I mean, I tell people this all the time, because I get calls like, hey, I'm considering signing up for so-and-so's course. Oh, okay, great. I know who he is. I follow him. Like, why should I sign up with you? Well, he's raised 50 million. I've raised 2 billion. Does that answer your question? Okay, let me go get my checkbook. But it's not just that. It's that when you look at raising money, yes, you can raise it from what I call retail investors. Those are the doctors, the entrepreneurs, the people that make a good living. But then at some point, after you get successful with that, you're like, how do I raise more? Well, you need to start talking to people that can write you a bigger check. Well, who's that? Well, those are family offices. Those are, the advisory firms. Those are getting into broker dealers, where now you have an army of financial planners every day raising money for you, because you've now got your deal approved in their system. And so imagine, you go to a small broker dealer that's got 400, 500, 600 financial advisors across the United States, and you're able to get your fund or your deal in their system. Now, every time one of those financial advisors is sitting down with a prospective client and they're saying, well, other than your house, you don't have any real estate that you own. My recommendation is we increase the allocation in your portfolio to include some more real estate. My firm, XYZ Broker Dealer, has done due diligence on this company. They've approved the offering, and I think you should put $100,000 into this multifamily project. Great. Now you're getting checks from people you don't know. Now you got other people doing your work for you. I mean, that's how some of these companies that I've worked with and have consulted are able to raise, 300 million a year, or in some of the bigger cases, 600, 800 million a year. And when you understand in real estate, the leverage where all you're doing is you're putting up 20%, 25% of the equity, and you're borrowing the other 80, 85% from Fannie Mae or whomever, you 4 or 5x that, now you're buying $2 billion a year in real estate. I mean, my God, like, people don't understand, let me teach you just how to raise $10 million. Now you can go out and buy $40 to $50 million in real estate. You do that for 4 or 5 years, man, you've created generational wealth,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think, where do people get stuck in the process? And the reason I ask this is because I have my process, my Sales CEO Syndicate. We have, 9 steps that we go through and so on and so forth, the whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
So where is in your 4 steps, where do people get jammed up?
They don't get jammed up in the steps. They get jammed up because they don't even get started. I mean, that's
great
what
answer.
It boils down to. Come on. I mean, I think so many people have just the fear or the hesitancy because, yes, you will get rejected. Yes, you will get the I'm not interested. Yes, you will get people to say, not now. But if you're dedicated to really learn how to do this and you carve out whatever, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 days a week, you make the phone calls, you do the follow-up, you will be successful at this. It's like almost guaranteed. I mean, I could train a monkey to do this. It's not rocket science. The reason most people flounder or don't have success, Corey, it's not because of the system or not understanding. It's just that they never even get started. They're scared. They have that self-doubt, the limiting belief, whatever you call it. But at the end of the day, if you're willing to create that motion of activity and start providing the outreach and then the follow-up, and you have, some decent looking material, you will ultimately be successful. I think that if people do make that leap and then they do start the process, where most people fall off the bus or most people basically flounder is they don't have a system. It's like they'll make the first call, they'll send out the stuff to the person is a potential investor, but then they don't follow up. Like they don't have a CRM system or they don't have a way to track that activity. And so what's the use of sending somebody a pitch deck or some corporate literature and getting them interested in what the offer is if you're never going to follow up? So you definitely need these systems in place, whether you use an Excel spreadsheet, I don't care whether you use a CRM, I don't care whether you use a 3x5 card filing system, but you got to have the systems in place. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're just letting opportunities literally just fall by the wayside. If you've got a system where first call, send me some material, great. You want me to send it by email or you want me to physically put it in the USPS and either way, okay, so you send it, boom, 7, 8 to 10 days later on the phone following up. Hey, did you get it? Great. Don't have anything to offer to you today. Just wanted to ask you some more questions, get to know you. You ask the validation phrase, 7, 8 days later, there's the pitch. It works. And the thing that I've learned over, 35 years is it works if you work. The problem is most people don't want to work. And unfortunately, money just doesn't appear at your front door in a wheelbarrow.
Damn it. No, it makes sense. And that's why I asked, Brad. That's really why I asked, because it is getting started. It's people
getting started. I mean, shit, everybody wants 6-pack abs, but most people don't have them. Why? Because most people don't want to invest the time. They don't want to go to the gym. They wish there was a magic potion or a pill they could pop to get 6-packs, but it don't happen that way. And you got to realize that this is like any other skill. It's like just read the manuals that are in our, in our curriculum, watch the videos, come on to the weekly calls, come to the boot camps we do. I'm doing another boot camp in 2 weeks, April the 8th and 9th. If you want to come to Houston and learn how to do this and spend 2 days with me and my team, we do a deep dive and I teach you literally everything I know on how to raise capital. So we got lots of resources at people's disposals, but I think the real reason is just people don't want to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really weird to me because I don't know I don't know what I'd do with myself if I didn't work. But I love what I do. So it's bizarre, but I will say that, with people in my program, you're right. They won't rip the Band-Aid off. They won't start because of fear, because of all the untrue stories that we tell ourselves about whatever the outcome is going to be, and we have literally nothing to compare that to. We don't, we don't have a measuring stick. We're just comparing it to whatever we think, which is not true. You can't believe everything you think. You can't.
You're exactly 100% correct. Yep.
So tell us about this boot camp. So it's 2 days. It's in Houston, and people can come down. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So we do about 6 to 8 boot camps a year, and they're very intense. They're designed basically to teach people that want to come how to attract, how to basically present, how to put together your $1 million pitch deck, and then ultimately how to close high net worth investors. And like I said, we basically go through about 35 years of my background. Everything I know is delivered to you over the course of 2 days. So when you leave, you've got a strategy, you've got a plan, what a $1 million pitch deck looks like, the next steps that you need to take to go out and start building that pipeline of activity. And the great thing about it is, yes, you can certainly enroll in our coaching community, which is, we call it Calpel School, where 12 modules online, 24 hours a day, 7-day a week access, combined with weekly coaching calls and the Facebook community. And that's great. But if you really want to just say, man, I just want to come and, number one, meet you, shake your hand, and really learn from you in a close-knit setting, we limit the size of the group to about 10 to 12 people. We don't want it to be a big, huge group. We want to give individuals one-on-one attention. But it's April the 8th and 9th here in Houston. Really great place in a really cool part of town. And, we get started and we go through, basically the PDFs, the workbooks. Everybody gets a copy of my book. We take a lot of pictures. And the great thing about these boot camps is it's just like going to a Cardone event or any of these big events. It's the network of people you meet while you're there. And a lot of people overlook the importance and basically the powerful thing that comes out of making connections. It's why I go to so many events a year. And more importantly, when I go, I like to sit in the first or second row. Why? Because that's where the power players are. That's where the people you want to meet are. You want to be in the nosebleed section where the guy basically had to go through his piggy bank to dump out the nickels and the dimes to buy his ticket, or you want to sit there in the front row. Go to these events. Why? Because the power of those connections. And so at the boot camps, man, we got a lot of 7-8 figure earners that are entrepreneurs that really just want to learn how to raise money so they can scale their business to another level, or basically just, buy another business as a strategic acquisition. So if you're interested, the best way to learn about it basically is just go to my website or just click in the email. It's www.Brad Blazar, Blazar. There's no E's in my last name, .com, and then just put the /bootcamp, www.bradblazar.com, /bootcamp, and it'll take you right to the page. Space is limited because we already have about 8 to 9 people that have committed. And like I said, we like to keep this group real small. But like I said, we do them throughout the year. And if you want to come, go ahead and commit. And if you can't make it to this one, we just credit you to the next one. The next one's in June. And like I said, you get on our mailing list, you'll find out what we do. You find out the events we'll be speaking at. And, we just want to help people learn how to attract and raise money. That's what it's all about.
That's super cool. Well, all that stuff will be in the show notes, but I want to pivot away. This has been such a great conversation. But I want to pivot away for just a quick second because, I'm just fascinated with the fact that you flew in a freaking jet. So I just want you to help me understand what was going through your mind when that damn jet was about to take off.
Now you're talking about the fighter jet, I would assume.
Yes.
I've flown on private jets like Citations and Gulfstreams. You're talking about the fighter jet.
The rocket.
So how that came to be is last year I was going to a big event down in Miami. Floyd Mayweather was going to be there as a speaker. Brandon Dawson, of course, Grant Cardone's business partner at 10X GrowthCon. Rich the Kid, big time hip hop artist. He's working with guys like Kanye and Snoop Dogg. So, great A-list panel. I was one of the speakers there as well. And so I just basically said to my wife, I mean, shit, man, I'm meeting Floyd money making Mayweather, man. Like, I got to show up in style. I'm going to fly down there on a private jet. And she's like, you're going to do what? I'm going to charter a jet, man. I'm not going to go on Southwest or, I'm going to fly on a private jet, like a Citation 3. So I started calling around and I'm like, shit, $30,000 to fly private from here to Miami. But I finally found a charter company here in Houston that had a beautiful Citation 3, 24,000, 25,000 bucks. And I'm like, well, why don't I go and use my social media? We talked about becoming a person of interest and see if anybody wants to buy a seat on the plane. So I called the host and the organizer of the event, negotiated a great deal on the tickets where I could offer people a package and say, hey, you're going to get VIP front row seats at this event, pictures with Floyd and Rich the Kid, and, get to meet and hang out with Brandon Dawson, all these speakers. And oh, by the way, you're going on a private jet, a Citation 3. And I had people like immediately raising their hands. Oh, count me in, man. I'm definitely there. And so we sold all the other seats. Basically, I flew for free, but the pilot that was on that jet is a former fighter pilot. And we started talking, and he mentioned that he actually owns a fighter plane. And I'm like, how do you own a fighter plane like an F-18? He's like, no, it's called an L-39. It's basically a two-seater, but it's used a lot in training by major militaries around the world. It's literally a fighter jet. And I'm like, dude, can I go up? He's like, yeah. So we stayed in touch. And, one day he just reached out to me and said, hey, I'm going out this weekend if you have some time. And I'm like, dude, I'll make the time. And so met him at the airport. And, he basically sat me down for about an hour and showed me, quote, all the safety things that you need to be aware of, God forbid the plane catches on fire, how to release yourself where the canopy pops and the ejection seat comes out. But I was a little nervous. My wife definitely asked before we went up if our insurance was enforced. And, I said yes. But the cool thing is he said, today we'll do basically everything you saw them do in Top Gun and more. And he showed me with a little kind of a mock jet in the office, what we were going to do, the barrel rolls, the Immelman rolls, the figure eights, the scissors. And then we went up. And I was like, whoa, this is a lot different than being in a commercial plane. I mean, literally, we came off the runway and pretty much just went straight up like a rocket. And, peaked out, I don't know, 30 some odd thousand feet, flew out to the Gulf of Mexico and what they call the clear zone. And then he's like, you ready? And I'm like, I think so. And we just had fun. We played and we did a bunch of aerobatic fighter maneuvers. He let me actually take the stick and fly the jet for a couple minutes, which was really probably the coolest part of the trip, was just to actually fly the plane. But that day we pulled 6.5 Gs. Did not pass out. Knock on wood, I did exactly what he told me to do. But, I could definitely see my line of sight start to narrow, and I did exactly what he said to do, which is basically grab your thighs and squeeze your butt cheeks because it forces the blood back to your heart. But after we were done, as we were flying back, it's like, dude, man, I'm so impressed. Most people black out at about 3.5 to 4 Gs. He said, you pulled a little over 6.3 Gs today. And I'm like, what? So, yeah, it was fun. We had a good time.
I can't even imagine the adrenaline that you must have been feeling after that.
Dude,
That's crazy.
If you ever get a chance to go up in a fighter jet, whether you have to pay for it in Vegas, they got the MiGs and stuff like that. It is an experience of a lifetime. It's literally something that every human being, every person should hopefully have the ability to do at some point in their life, because it's always been on my bucket list. And now I can cross it off and say, did it. Got the video, got all the cool stuff from it. And I'll send you a link. We have the video on Vimeo. That way, as you put together the show notes, maybe you can include a link to the Vimeo video where your listeners can actually watch that video, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. Definitely, little nerve wracking as you're going upside down, inverted, and you're seeing the whole world at a completely different perspective, pulling 4 or 5 Gs. But, if you really just have the desire to do something big in life and have the desire to experience something like that, I urge everybody to do it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I could tie this right back to fear because, you had to have a little bit of fear going up into that thing. But at the end of the day, mentally, you knew that this was going to be fine. Like you just, and that's what part about visualization. People think maybe that's woo-woo shit, but it's really not. Like you can visualize what's about to happen. Sales is a great example of that.
Yeah.
If you visualize that phone call to that investor and whatever sequence you're in and how that call is going to go, the likeliness of it going that way is probably pretty good.
Exactly.
Now, you know what I mean? So, but if you show up unprepared, it's likely going to go sideways.
Exactly. It's like a lot of the big sales and motivational trainers say, life's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you get into the meeting or you get on the phone with the expectation of something positive happening as a result, 90% of the time it will. But if you're apprehensive, if you're cowardice, you're lacking in that self-confidence and you go into that meeting or you get on the phone, more than likely you're not going to close. More than likely you're not going to get any significant amount of capital raised. And so, you got to have the confidence and you just got to be assumptive. And in sales, having that assumptive attitude is so very important because at the end of the day, what I teach people is when you're working off an investor list, or if you do a webinar and you have people sign up and now you got their names, their emails, their phone numbers, and you're following up, expect that you will get a lot of I'm not interested. I mean, that's like human nature. And I equate it to, anytime you go into a store and the clerk walks up to you and says, "Hi, my name's Sam. Can I help you today?" What is your programmed response? "No, thank you. I'm just here looking." I mean, we say that automatically, but we're not there just looking. We're there for a reason. We're obviously in a store. What are you looking for? You're there looking for a suit, or you're looking for a new pair of slacks. And then eventually, after a couple minutes, they come back, they help you. You go to the cash register, you walk out, and you buy something. Raising money is largely the same way. And if you expect the response that I'm not interested from a potential investor, and you've been trained properly to expect that and then to respond, literally you can break down those barriers and get somebody that says I'm not interested to stay on the phone with you. And I've seen people literally that start with that then spend 20, 30, 40 minutes with me because I immediately have trained myself to stick my foot in the door and say, "Wait, before you go or hang up, can I ask you a question? The fact you said you weren't interested, is it because maybe you invested in something similar to this before and it didn't work out the way you expected it to?" And they're going to answer. And then you fire right back again. "Well, I'm not calling to offer you anything today. I just wanted to see if this is something of interest to you. Can I send you some information in the mail?" "Yeah, that's fine. Great." Again, my name is Brad Lazar. But then you start peeling back the layers of the onion saying, when you invest, are you looking for growth or income? And then you start just asking the questions. And what you'll find is the more you disarm that person, they forget that they said they weren't interested like 5 minutes ago. And now you're having an engaging, wonderful conversation, just like the clerk at the store that leaves you alone or comes back with the response because they've been properly trained by a closer that understands sales psychology and how our mind works. And once you understand those things, you realize that not interested doesn't mean he's not interested. It's just the natural human response that we've been ingrained to say to protect ourselves. But in reality, he is. Let's face it, everybody out there wants to make money. Everybody out there wants to reduce their taxes. Everybody out there is looking for capital appreciation. And so if you understand that you've got this wonderful investment opportunity to offer people, it's like you're almost doing them a disgrace by not bringing it to their attention, right? It's like, dude, I got something here that can make you some real money, lower your taxes, help you put your kids through school, whatever. I mean, I've been doing this for 10, 15 years. Here's my track record. Like, why would you not want to share that with the world, right? And once you shift your mind to that thought process where you're really doing people a disservice by not bringing this great investment to their attention, then your mentality and the approach you take shifts. And that's usually where I see people kind of have what I call that aha moment. They do it for a while, they have that self-doubt and that fear, and then they get to a point after they've raised a certain amount of money where it's like their confidence level just goes through the roof. It's like that confidence meter's over here, and it's like, boom, I raised 2 million. This works, and now I see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's like sky's the limit, and when I have conversations, I'm like, well, great. Can you see yourself raising 50 million? Yeah, because now I know I can teach other people like you taught me how to do this too. And I can build a team around me and really scale this thing.
I love that, dude. Yeah, that's yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You said it. I mean, everything you said is exactly. It's sales, right? At the end of the day, everything's sales. I don't care what it
is sales. I mean, shit. You
everything.
go to the doctor, dude. Let's say you go to a dermatologist like I did. He sees a mole that's suspicious. We got to do a biopsy. Okay, great. It comes back. You got melanoma. Now you got to go out and talk to 4 or 5 doctors. Like, which one's going to do the procedure? They're all set. I went over here to this school and we're going to do it a little differently than, and you're sitting there going, like, listening to all these guys. At the end of the day, what they're selling their skills as a doctor or as a surgeon. So we're all in sales in some form or fashion. It just really depends on the industry you're in what it is you're trying to accomplish. I happen to be in real estate as well as teach people how to raise capital through our coaching and mentoring program. But at the end of the day, we're all in sales.
That's right. Well, and one other thing that you mentioned a moment ago, you said, well, when they get, let's just call it that $2 million, when they hit that first $2 million, something kind of converts. But really what I think that is lots of times we just need a win. We need one good win, and then everything opens up because, as you mentioned, it's possible now. We see it.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And that big win is I believe is really important when you start work. Well, for me, when I work with, I consult and I coach, and I try to get a win immediately for each one of my clients because I feel like, that process works for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's all I can say.
Exactly. Totally agree.
It works.
Yeah.
So Brad, you've got the boot camp going. You've got your you're still doing. You do your online now. Is that something that you come online and you teach inside of that group, or is it inside of like a Facebook group? Can you break that down for me? Okay.
So basically, what we have found over time is that people basically assimilate and digest information differently. Some people need to read it. Some people need to hear it. Some people need to feel it with their hands because we take in information through our multiple senses. And so our mentoring and coaching is basically delivered through 3 mediums. Number one is there is an online platform. So all of the modules, roughly 12 modules, 12 lessons with about, 20, 25 hours of content are delivered there. You have access to it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's lifetime access. So you get access to that for the rest of your life. And in there, we got things like, videos, PDFs, templates, workbooks, examples of what pitch decks look like, examples of what an offer memorandum is. And we go through everything, how to attract the investor, how to put together your pitch deck, talk about crowdfunding platforms, everything. The second is you get access to our private members only Facebook community. Think of it like your mastermind group. It's a group of like-minded entrepreneurs all around the world, different countries, but this is where we communicate. This is where we're sharing our successes. This is where all of the training that's done weekly is available for replay if you miss one of the live weekly training calls. And then every Thursday, every week, we do a live weekly coaching call where you get access to the coaching community. You dial in through Zoom. We're role playing. I'm coaching on one concept or one key principle. Many times I bring on guest speakers that are sharing their successes. So you're learning from others what's working for them. And, I tell people, if you have to miss any one of those weekly calls, don't lose sleep on it because they're all recorded and they're all available instantaneously inside that Facebook community. So you can go back and watch the replay at your leisure so you don't ever miss anything. And all of that basically is wrapped up. We put a nice little silver bow on it and we give people basically 3 different ways how they can sign up and enroll. You can pay up front, you get a discount. You can finance it over 2 or 3 months. And, we'd love to help your students or anybody that's part of your network learn how to do this. We've got students literally that have been, out there now, have this. One of my guys in Vegas, Nicholas, he's probably been in our community 4, maybe 5 months. He's raised almost $6 million.
Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, that's super. Now, I think you're and correct me if I'm wrong about this, but your online stuff is, or the online stuff is through Lightspeed, right?
Right. Yep.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
so
no,
so
let me take that back. Lightspeed and also ClickFunnels. Yeah. So we do have a good relationship with Brad. Love the guy. Been on his podcast. You cannot get on Dropping Bombs without walking out Brad's store, stroking a check for 5, 10, 20,000, because they will close you while you're there to use their platform. But with that being said, Lightspeed, we have some of our stuff, and then also on a ClickFunnels, which is where we host a large number of it as well. But it's really just providing that accessibility so that students and people that want to learn have access to it when they want it, not when we deliver. And I think that's the big difference. People work odd hours. Some people just don't have the time, but they want to sit down after dinner where they can go to their computer. They can log on with their user profile and get into one of the lessons or one of the core modules and just, watch the video instruction, download the PDF or the workbook, and really just learn at their own pace. And then when you combine that with the weekly in-person coaching calls, it starts to gel and come together. And then it's just largely taking action, putting it to work.
well, the reason I bring up that you've got the online stuff on Lightspeed is because his platform is far superior, I believe. And maybe I'm biased because I like the guy, but I do think it's such a cool platform, and I think it's really great how it's interactive, and it's just he's in my opinion, he's way further ahead than most. Of course, he did kind of start this whole online platform deal, so. It's really cool, though. It's really interactive. It's really cool. And I think for people like me, I need that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I need that. I need that kind of platform because that's how I learn. I'm a kinesthetic learner. So,
right. Well, what credit card you want to put it on today, Corey? We'll sign you up to the access.
Right. And that's what he would have said, wouldn't it? Sign you up today. Lord have mercy. Well, listen, Brad, man, this has been such a great conversation. I do want to end this by asking you, since I didn't put it on here, how do you get the name Sir Brad Lazar?
Well, I've been royally knighted, so it comes with the honor of being recognized for philanthropy and for entrepreneurship. I was contacted last year by somebody that had the pleasure of being knighted in a ceremony alongside Tony Braxton and Paula Abdul, and he reached out to me and said, I came to your event and been real impressed. He said, do you want to be knighted? And I'm like Sir Branson, Elton John, Anthony Hopkins, like real knighthood. He's like, yeah, this is not the fraternal bullshit like Knights of Columbus or Freemasons. This is a real royal honor where there's a prince and it's recognized in the European court system. And, we need your passport and all that kind of cool stuff. And I'm like, yeah, dude, sign me up. So this year, back in February, myself alongside 23 other very recognized, notable entrepreneurs all got together. The prince came over from Spain and provided basically the 24 of us with the honor of being royally knighted. And going forward, I'm able to carry that title just like anybody else that is recognized and knighted. So that's how I got the name Sir Brad Lazar.
That's so cool, dude. It really is. I don't know why I think that's so cool, but I think it's pretty cool.
Well, I tell people, it's a big honor. Of course, it's recognition. It's cool. Paparazzi was there and, the Marines were there, the color guards. They opened the ceremony with the flags. And then, of course, we got the Scottish Royal Bagpipers there as well. But the coolest thing by far, man, is getting to keep the sword.
Oh, man. Is there a place where we can watch this? Do you have this on video somewhere?
Yeah, I do. Matter of fact, if you go to my Instagram and also Facebook, I think the post that we put up there, which is a new speaker reel, has a couple of images there of the ceremony where it says Sir Brad, and it shows me going up there and, getting on the knee. And, of course, the prince bopping me on the shoulders with the sword as he basically recites the ceremony. And then the cool thing is, you turn around and you're presented as a knight where you have the robe, you have the royal cross, and then, of course, you have the sword. And, the funny thing is about 3 weeks before this big event, I'm sitting there and I reached out to the organizers and I'm like, do we and the other knights get swords? Yes. And I went to my wife, how in the hell am I going to get this big sword back on an airplane? You just don't show up at TSA with a sword and say, hey, I'm a knight. They're not going to care about. So I'm thinking like, and so I go online and I look for sword bags, and they sell padded nylon bags for, martial artists. And so I bought one of those and I sent it out to the host, and I said, let the other knights know that I found this online. And I get an email back. It's not long enough. The blade on your sword is 48 inches. And I'm like, oh, geez. So I'm thinking like, how, finally it dawned on me, I'm going to go buy a rifle case. And so I went to, Academy and spent some money and bought a big old rifle case that's padded on the inside, got the lock and everything. And so that's what they did, is they basically got all of us a nice rifle case to take our swords back on the plane as we travel back home. And I got it hanging on the wall back here behind me in the office. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, dude. That's really cool. I mean, I guess I can't imagine. I'm sure that experience was amazing. Well, Brad, look, I just want, can you tell everybody before we're going to wrap up, just tell everybody where they can find you. Yep. Tell them, you've already told them your website, but tell them whatever you would like to tell them.
Sure. So,
before we wrap
the
up.
easiest way to find me is my name, Brad Lazar. There's only one of me. I do unfortunately have some fake imposters on Instagram, but it's just my first and last name, Brad Lazar. If anybody approaches you trying to sell you crypto, or they got anything funny going on with a line after the name, it ain't me. So just go to Instagram. It's, at Brad Blazar, Blazar. Same thing. My website is just www.bradblazar.com. Send us a DM, send me a email. We'll send you information on our coaching, on our boot camps. If you go to Amazon and you want to buy any one of my books, as you saw, Corey's got all three. Just in the search field, put my name, Brad Blazar, and all three of the books will pop up for you. If you want them autographed, just don't buy them on Amazon. Buy them through my website, and we'll autograph them. We'll personalize them and send them out to you that way. But I'm pretty easy to find. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and we're just here, to add value. If you also are interested in investing alongside us in our multifamily projects, we're just now launching fund number 2. It's 25 million. We'll end up owning about $100 million in real estate there. Again, just reach out and say, send me some information on what you're doing on the real estate side, and we'll start having that conversation as well. So just great to be here with you, Corey, and always a pleasure to show up on people's podcasts and people's shows.
I appreciate you, brother.